Okay, before I populate this with data, I want to just focus on what we call the data layer. So I'm going to go here to this right here. I'm going to create a new class here, and I'm going to put this in another package, call it driver, and I'm going to call this my driver student DAO. And what I want to do here in this particular code is I want to create a class that's going to be responsible just for getting data. This class will handle all the data access. So that's what I'm going to call it. For now, I'm going to call it pseudo student DAO. If I can, let me just call it student DAO. This class doesn't exist yet. DAO, new student DAO. DAO is going to stand for data access layer. Okay, I'll right click here because I'm going to tell it to create it. I'm going to put this in a package called DAO. This is where all my data access objects will go. Save it. Let's go back to my driver class, which I'll close others, so we just focus on that. I want this DAO to return me a list of students. Again, this function does not exist. I'm going to create here and say import Java util list, import student, okay, and I'm going to say create this method. And what it does is just creates that method for me. My goal is to populate the rest. Now, what this represents is I have a list, but using the diamond operator, I'm saying, hey, I want to return a list of students. So this is what this is saying. So again, this is kind of like an advanced array. This has positions. I can return 20 students, 30 students in this list, but this list can only have students inside of it, okay? I then want to do a for each. I'm doing for each, control space, hit enter. This represents the list here. This represents the current row, and I'll do a sysout. Control space will finish that for me. Type in student, and what I'm hoping this will print out all the students that I create within this DAO. Now, what could happen here is that I could connect to a database, or I could read information from a file, but that doesn't matter. All it knows is that I'm going to return a list of students, and it doesn't care. At least this code doesn't care. It just knows I should get a list of students, and I should be able to process through them or iterate through them. Of course, now this code does nothing, but our goal is to make this code iterate through all this data. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a for loop here, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use something that's new in Java 8. You can use a for loop. I'm using a standard for loop, but this is a for loop that's kind of in Java 8. So I'm going to say here, int stream is equal to I, and I'm going to say here, int stream range from 1 to, let's say, 30. Okay. This has a method called for each. I for each. And I'm going to use this weird syntax if you're not familiar with Java 8. But this is basically a for loop. This E represents each row in the loop. And this E is an integer, okay? That's what this is doing. Now what I want to do here is I want to create a list here of students. Say here, list is equal to new array list. Okay. And what I'm going to do is one at a time, I'm going to populate this student. I'm going to say here student S is equal to new student. And this takes an ID. I'm going to put here E, let's see, E times 1,000. Okay. Well, you know what? E plus 1,000 I'll do. First name, I'll call it first name here plus E. And then I'll make this last name plus E. And I'll say here E plus 20. Again, I'm just creating fake data here right now. Okay. So again, this is a list that's empty. This is the list I eventually want to return here at the end. Okay. And this basically is a for loop. So what this is going to do is from 1 to 30, excluding the 30, so that means from 1 to 29, I'm going to use this for each, which is basically a loop. This represents each row in the loop. So for first time it runs, this is a 1, then a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and so on. So this part is basically the loop. Now that I have that data, I want to say list here and add that data S, which is a student. So by the time this is over, this will have 30 things, or say 29 things in the loop. Okay, let's save it. Let's pray that it works. I'll go back to my driver, and I use this class just to test this. Let's run this Java application. Notice it created all this information here, this fake data that it created for us. Again, the whole idea is that eventually I'll get this from a database. Okay, but right now we're just creating fake data. With that, good luck and good coding. We'll continue with this in the next video.